Hubert Davis is on a scholarship spending spree, handing out 5 offers in the last couple days, and now he's dipped into the class of 2026 for the first time.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch. Special shout out to all of you everydayers out there, as well as all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. We're glad that all of you are here. Coming up on the show today, we got some more details on Monday of this week about this year's Jumpman Invitational, and that means it's a great time to look ahead at what we already know for the 24-25 schedule, which is actually more than you might think. But first, before we get there, Hubert Davis has offered his first scholarship offer in the class of 2026. It's to an in-state young man, and it's time to keep that top talent at home in the Tar Heel state. Let's make it happen. So on Monday, Coach Davis offers 4 scholarships, all of those in the class of 2025, bringing the total number of offers in that class to 13. Let me just give you those 4 names in case you didn't check out yesterday's show. But if you want to learn more about them, go watch it. But it's Nik Khamenia, Malachi Moreno, Dixon, and Braylon Mullins. Make sure you check out all 4 of those young men. But now, here we go. Moving into the class of 2026. That's the guys that are finishing up their sophomore year right now, upcoming rising juniors. And man, when it's an in-state young man like this, got to do everything you can to keep him home. And so I know the Tar Heels have already been and will continue to be putting an all-out blitz for Coleman Cloer. Right? And got to get him. Cole, if you're listening or watching, we'd love to have you on the show. Come hang out with us. Cole is a 6'7", depending on where you look, guard or forward. And I'll tell you more about why on that coming up in a minute. Per his own Twitter, he is a guard. Per recruiting services, he's a small forward. And the reason being, it's a good thing. He's at Orange High School in Hillsborough, North Carolina. 4-star right now. Whatever, I don't care about that. Does he fit or does he not? That's what matters. And by the way, he does. You want this young man. Number 1 player in the state for the class of 2026. He's 27th right now in the composite rankings. And it's interesting. He is much more highly placed at 247 Rivals and ESPN, 18th, 21st, and 24th, respectively. On 3 has him at just 59th. On 3, where are you at? Do better. Get this young man up the charts. For AAU in the summers, he plays for Team CP3 as part of Nike's EYBL circuit. Already holds, Cloer does, multiple high major offers, schools like NC State, Wake, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Georgetown, Illinois, Iowa, VCU, just to name some of those. Hadn't previously been offered by North Carolina, but had taken multiple unofficials to campus, including like coming to a football game in September, has met with Coach Davis, all of that. And so he's around, he's familiar, he knows what's going on, and this is a big deal. From Stellar Hoops on Twitter, just a couple like quick hitter things about Cloer's game. Excellent mechanics, explosive scorer from 3. I love this one. This might be my favorite thing. So I'm going to quote it. Makes teams pay with nonstop movement off the ball. Look, there's a million guys that can score with the ball in their hands. There's a million guys that can do whatever. Are you capable of doing damage when you don't have the ball, when you're not even the next pass away, when you're the 3rd guy away, when you're 2 passes away? How are you just making life hell for the opponent? I love that they're pointing this out about Cloer. They say relentless effort on defense, athletic, quick release, great body control. These are all things that I really like, but 2 of those that really stand out. I already said 1, makes teams pay with nonstop movement off the ball, and relentless effort on defense. You think about somebody like Drake Powell that comes in this upcoming season to North Carolina, and that's been his calling card. The offense is caught up, and it's great. But I love it with someone like Cole Cloer, who already has the offense there, but is also a relentless defender. Man, to be a two-way player like that, that's guys that go to the next level and then that go to the very tip top of the entire sport. It's not just about shooting. It's not just about playing defense. It's not just about cutting and assisting and those things. You got to have it all. And I love what I've seen about Cloer, by the way, and what I've read about him as well. It's encouraging. Let me give you some stat numbers, freshman year and summers, things like that. As a freshman, averaged 20.1 points on varsity, by the way. This is not JV. 3.1 assists, 39% from three. Last summer, his team won the Nike EYBL 15 Peach Jam Championship. That's big time. Like, that is the height of EYBL. And then obviously, but at the age level, it's not like that upper age level of EYBL yet, but age level specific, you'll love to see it. In that tournament, 13.7 points, 41% from three. His sophomore year that he's just finishing off, 21.1 points, 8.4 boards, 2.6 assists, 1.4 blocks. This dude is doing a little bit of everything. He's a stat stuffer. He's you love these kind of players, man, that can any given day can affect the game in a multitude of ways. I absolutely love that. This summer, so far, 6 games, 16.8 points, 4.5 boards, 1.2 assists, a block, 46.2 from three. And I know it's a small sample size, but still, 82% from the free throw line. You love this. Just reading through some of the things that have been written about Cloer. Back in the fall, he said, quote, in terms of ultimately choosing a school, I'm going to be looking closely at fit. That's the biggest thing for me. I won't be committing to a school, and here's the key line for me, but to a coach. I want to play for a coach in a system that welcomes me for who I am already on and off the court, end quote. Look, when you see this young man saying, look, yeah, I'm going to ultimately choose a school, but I'm going there for a coach and what they're doing for me. How could you but not want to play for Hubert Davis? Someone that loves you well as a player, that insists that you meet with him one-on-one weekly, that has your best interest at heart and your family's, that is somebody that is not just about getting and showcasing talent, but developing and showcasing talent. All of this, I love it. On the UNC offer, Inside Carolina reports that Cloer said, quote, "It's one of the best programs that there has ever been in college basketball," about North Carolina, "especially from being around there 30 minutes from my house. The offer is very exciting," end quote. So just a couple things that I want to say here about it. With somebody that is this in-state from 30 minutes away, this is hashtag keep him home, man. Make Cole Cloer want to be a homebody. Right. And in this day and age, it feels like that's more important than ever. And I know different student athletes feel different ways, but so often in this transfer portal era, when you see guys making a switch for that last year, maybe the last couple of years, more often than not, it feels like they're going close to home where family and friends can come and watch them play. Let's get that from the beginning with Cole. So a couple things that I really like. One, I love that the staff has been in on him early. They were going to his games last summer. They were showing interest. They were showing up, getting to workouts at his school this past fall, being around and doing these things. So it's not like you get in on him late. Yes, they've offered him later than a few other schools, but they've been watching him. They've been connected to him, and that's a good sign. Number two, I love his versatility. I said we'd talk about why does he show up as a guard and a small forward? Well, from his high school coach, says, quote, he's a 6'7" guard, essentially. He's commonly called a wing, but he does everything a guard does and more. He shoots with great accuracy from range. He can take defenders in the post, mid-post, and low post and put defenders on his back. Translation, he can do it all. Can do anything you need him to do in the backcourt or on the wing. I am all about this. Next, I think this is a critical thing too. He, as a sophomore, was a team leader this year. His coach also talked about how Cole is often the one relaying the coach's messages to the rest of the team. He's often the one talking in huddles. Last year, as a sophomore, and it's, that means that teammates are respecting him and getting like, oh man, I'm going to listen up. He's taking the reins, and that is a good thing. That's the kind of guy I want on my team. Two other things. Part of why Hubert Davis loves him. Cloer's high school coach says, quote, but off the court, he's great as well. He's great in the classroom, friends with all the kids on the team. If I could clone this kid, I would, basketball-wise or real life, end quote. So you love that too. And that's the person that Hubert Davis wants on his teams, not somebody that's just like great at basketball, great with his teammates, and a tool shed off the court, but somebody that is contributing to society, somebody that people like to be around, somebody that is a team player, somebody that works hard in the classroom and is setting the example there. That's, from everything I've heard and seen and read, that's who Cole Cloer is. Go get him. Keep him in the Tar Heel state. Let's make this happen. I'm really, really excited to watch his recruitment story and how things progress, and I'm sure you are as well. So we'll stay up to date with it here on the show. You can count on that as always. Now, Monday, we learned more specifics about the Jumpman Invitational Year 3 and where the Tar Heels will be as they finish off the round robin of playing all the various teams. We'll talk about that in just a second. Right after I tell you about eBay Motors, passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits to LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed or power or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. They've got over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. And with that, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit Your Part, it's guaranteed to fit your ride every single time, or you get your money back. Why? Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. For the third straight year, North Carolina will be participating in the Jumpman Invitational in Charlotte. This is a bunch of teams that are Jumpman affiliated, sponsored teams, whatever you want to say. So it's North Carolina, it's Michigan, it's Florida, and it's Oklahoma. So by process of elimination, we already knew who the Tar Heels would be playing because it's a round robin that they've been doing. So year one, the Tar Heels played Michigan back in the 22-23 season. Last season, 23-24, they played Oklahoma. And so that means this year, chomp, chomp, baby, Gatorade, the Tar Heels will be playing the Florida Gators. We're going to have to do a crossover episode with Brandon Olson, the host of Locked On Gators. He's awesome, and we have a fun relationship. We're going to have to make sure to do that when we get closer to Locked on to the Jumpman Invitational. Anyway, on Monday, Rocco Miller tweeted out the dates of the Jumpman Invitational. If you're not familiar with Rocco, somebody that I trust on these types of things, is connected, just has a lot of sources in terms of scheduling and getting reports out, kind of similar to what John Rothstein does in some of those ways. And so though it's not been public from Jumpman Invitational, with Rocco Miller tweeting it out, I believe it, and I would suggest that it's fine that you do the same. So what he tweeted out was the schedule of when these games are going to be played coming up this mid-December, which is when this event has been played the last 2 years as well. So on Tuesday, December 17th, the women, Oklahoma and Michigan will play, and then the men will play. I say, and then the men will play. We actually don't know the order yet, just the teams and the nights. So Oklahoma women versus Michigan women, and Carolina men versus Florida men. So that's Tuesday night. You remember last year, Carolina played on Wednesday and played the nightcap against Oklahoma. So by process of elimination, then on Wednesday, it'll be the flip of that. The women's game that night will be Florida and North Carolina, and the men's game that night will be Oklahoma and Michigan. So that's what we'll be watching for. The Tar Heel men will play on Tuesday night. The Tar Heel women will play on Wednesday night, both going up against the Gators of the SEC. Now, a couple things we don't know yet are time or order of the games. Obviously, because it's weekdays, these are going to be nighttime games. typically you think about like we've got a 7 and a 9 or something like that. I didn't go back and look up when they tipped off the past 2 seasons, but it should be something like that of what you get typically in an ACC doubleheader during the week. And so we'll look at that. But then again, we also don't know the order of whether Carolina's men will play first or second on Tuesday night. I would guess it would be second, the nightcap, but we will obviously wait to see. In this event, Carolina's undefeated. Beat Michigan in the first year, 80-76. You'll love to see that. And then beat Oklahoma last year. You might remember Oklahoma came into that game undefeated, and it was like, all right, we're going to learn more about the Tar Heels now in this game. Carolina won 81-69, kind of pulled away late, if I remember correctly. And it turned out really Oklahoma wasn't quite as good as they seemed at that time. The Big 12 ate them up a little bit, which it does to most teams, if we're being honest. But still a great win for the Tar Heels. So we'll see if they can do all 3 years of this event in undefeated fashion. Now, what I haven't been able to see yet, or the information I haven't found, is if the Jumpman Invitational will carry on after this season. Now that all 3, the round robin is basically done, you've played all the other schools. Will they get new schools in on it? What's that going to look like? Part of this, and we'll say this more later, is that typically you're not allowed to play teams in your own conference in events like in multi-team events like this. The thing is, remember, Oklahoma is in the SEC now. So if you get back around to where Oklahoma plays Florida, which if you just recycle things would be next year's matchups, you can't do that. Unless I don't know, maybe they're going to start making dispensations. But if you do carry on the Jumpman Invitational into next year or restart the cycle, one of those teams is probably going to have to cycle out. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for that information. Now, with the Jumpman Invitational news out there, we now know more than you might expect or imagine for the 24-25 season. I want to unpack all that for you because you might not even realize how much is out there already. And we'll do that in just a second. All right, let's unpack what we already know about the 2024-25 basketball schedule for the men's basketball team. If you're unaware, typically what happens is there are 31 regular season games. Right now, the ACC plays 20 conference games, so you have 20 conference games and 11 non-conference games. And so we actually know at least a little bit about almost every part of the schedule at this point. Heck, I could tell you based on, like, it's not out there in public, everything, but I can tell you right now the first game of the regular season and the last game of the regular season, just because I know how to look at the schedule and what it tells you. Now, the first game of the schedule we know because it's publicly out there, but everything else you can kind of unpack. So what I want to do is tell you something that we know about all of this. So as you look at the 11 non-conference games, you might remember last year, the Tar Heels basically had 4 bye games. These are kind of the games that you pay mid-major schools or low-major schools to come and play you in the Smith Center. It helps, be basically kind of guaranteed wins, although obviously teams lose it at times. And then also helps fill out your season ticket package, things like that. Last year, Carolina had 4 of those. That should be the same this year, and I'll explain why. We know 3 of those bye games already. One of them is the season opener against Elon. That's Monday, November 4th. That'll be at home. We know that. We also know, now this one actually won't be in the Smith Center, but at Hawaii. Historically, the Tar Heels have played a game out on the West Coast on their way out to the Maui Invitational. So the Tar Heels will play at Hawaii on Friday, November 22nd. And then Maui is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of Thanksgiving week. We'll get to that in a second. So we know that one. Carolina on Saturday, December 14th, will host LaSalle. And then there will be one other bye game, I expect. That's what typically happens to fill this out. So keep your eyes out for that information. So that's 4 of the 11 non-conference games. As for the other 7, they're all spoken for. Let me give those to you. I already mentioned Maui. There will be 3 of those final 7 games in Maui Invitational. That's Monday to Wednesday of Thanksgiving week, the 25th, 26th, and 27th. We don't know what the bracket looks like yet, who the opponents are, but we do know who the other 7 teams in the field are, and it is a loaded field. Auburn, Colorado, Dayton, Iowa State, who's going to be phenomenal this year, by the way. Memphis, Michigan State, guaranteed we're going to play them because that's just what seems to always happen. Reigning back-to-back national champion UConn as well. So this is a really good field. You didn't hear me say Chaminade in there. And the reason being is that they only play in the tournament every other year now, and they were in it last year. So no Chaminade. Again, a loaded field. So that's 3 of the remaining 7 games. As for the others, Carolina will travel to Lawrence, Kansas to play the Jayhawks. You might remember the Tar Heels and Jayhawks signed a home-and-home agreement. So this year will be at Kansas, and then next year, the 25-26 season, will be at Carolina. But that game's taking place on Friday, November 8th. If you know me and have heard me talk about it, I love marquee Friday night matchups in college basketball. And we get a lot of those in the November portion of the schedule, quite specifically because college football is still dominating Saturdays at that point. I wish college basketball did this throughout the season, but they don't. I like that you get this one a little bit early because often we don't get a ton of high-level marquee games around the nation right out of the gate. And so this is great. And then it also spreads out some of those bye games a little more. So 3 remaining games after that. I'll give you them in order of when I think they will happen. One of which we know because we already talked about is Jumpman. But the next is ACC SEC. Remember, it's not ACC Big Ten anymore. It's ACC SEC Challenge. This will be year 2 of it. Last year, remember, Carolina blitzed Tennessee, and then Dalton Connect went off in the second half, and Carolina held on. My guess, based on when this event typically happens and how the calendar is lining up, these games will probably be, Carolina will probably either play on Tuesday, December 3rd or Wednesday, December 4th. You don't believe me? Go ahead and mark it or come find me and ask me why. It's just, I, again, know how the schedule is typically put together, and this is when it falls. Next would be Jumpman Invitational. I've already talked about that, but that's Tuesday, December 17th against Florida. And then the last non-conference game will be the CBS Sports Classic. That's going to be against UCLA this year. Carolina has played in this a ton. They've played Kentucky 5 times, Ohio State 3 times, but UCLA just twice, finally getting the Bruins again, that classic Big Ten team, right? For this one, I can tell you, I expect this game, the date for it is not public yet. My expectation is that this will be Saturday, December 21st. I've already said that the LaSalle game is Saturday, December 14th. This should be the next Saturday leading into Christmas week. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But trust me, this is how that's going to play out. Which, same scenario, by the way, in the CBS Sports Classic as Jumpman Invitational. Now that UCLA is in the Big Ten, will they and Ohio State be able to both stay in this event, or will somebody have to cycle out? I don't know. We'll watch for that. So that's the 11 non-con games. Let me run just through it again. 4 bye games versus Elon, Monday, November 4th, at Hawaii, Friday, November 22nd, home against LaSalle, Saturday, December 14th. And there should be one other probably in November at some point, but that's not been announced yet. At Kansas, Friday, November 8th, ACC SEC Challenge. We don't know the opponent yet, but that game will probably be Tuesday or Wednesday, December 3rd or 4th. Jumpman Invitational against Florida, December 17th. That's a Tuesday. CBS Sports Classic against UCLA. My prediction is Saturday, December 21st. And then the Maui Invitational, I actually don't have that one in chronological order. But again, that's November 25 through 27. That leads us then to the 20-game conference schedule. We don't know the dates or times or TV networks for these games, but we do know all the opponents already because the ACC has already put that out. One thing I'll say, keep in mind, the ACC has been having teams play one game earlier in the schedule. And so we expect that to happen again. Same kind of thing as I said with knowing the schedule from this other stuff. I project that game will be the weekend of either it'll take place on Saturday, December 7th or Sunday, December 8th. Look for that to be the first ACC game for the Tar Heels. Again, mark it down, come back and fact check me on it later. But that's kind of how it's been laid out the last 3 seasons of that happening. As for the games and the opponents, now with SMU, Stanford, and Cal coming in, here's how it works. You have 7 teams that are home only, 7 teams that are away only, and then 3 teams that you play both home and away, 2 of which are the same every year. For Carolina, as you would guess, that's Duke and NC State. And then the third one, which is revolving this year, is going to be Pitt. I can go ahead and tell you, Selection Sunday next year is March 16th, which means if you backdate that from when the ACC tournament would be and when Carolina would play Duke, the Tar Heels will host the Blue Devils to wrap the regular season on Saturday, March 8th. Again, the ACC hasn't put that schedule out, but it's just how the schedule comes together. I'm giving you stuff that's not out there in public yet. Go ahead and mark your calendars if you want to. So home and away against Duke, home and away against State, and home and away against Pitt. These 7 games that are home only are Boston College, Cal, Georgia Tech, Miami, SMU, Stanford, and Virginia. So the Tar Heels, again, we talked about this when it first came out, but don't have to go to California this year and don't have to go to Texas this year. You know that's going to get paid back in future years, though, so keep your eyes on that. And then the away-only games, process of elimination, you might have already figured this out, is Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, who, by the way, they're putting a team together. They're looking a lot better. They're going to win more basketball games this year. Notre Dame, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, and Wake. So that is not an easy away-only schedule. Pretty tough. Carolina is going to have to navigate it. And quite frankly, it's a tough complete schedule given that non-conference schedule that the Tar Heels have as well. So going to have to navigate it. And obviously, we're still waiting to see who the last and final piece is going to be for this roster. Thanks for joining me on today's show. Can't wait to be back again tomorrow with Coach Rob. Should be fun as always. If you haven't subscribed to the show on audio and video, come on and do that. It's super easy to do. Just search Locked On Tar Heels on your favorite audio podcast platform. Hit subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe in the bottom corner. Hit that bell to get notifications for every time a premiere comes out or we're going live so that you don't miss a second. You can just tap right in. If you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to have you there. It's free to join. The link's in the show notes. Come for the Tar Heels. Stay for the community. If you want to send an email, lockedontarheels@gmail.com. We'd love to interact with you there. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. You hear that, Cole Cloer? Come join the party. We'd love to have you. We'll talk again tomorrow. But until then,